Hello, folks. We'll get started here in a second. I'm just getting all set up. Test, 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 test. Check, 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 check. Okay. Gonna mute now. Back in a second. All right. Test, 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 test. Okay, that's still working. Back to mute.
Let's start with WiscWeb.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I sent out the email, Al Nemec emailed me back and he's like, this is a good time for you to talk about Whisk lists and, you know, what's going on with that service and et cetera. And I'm like, I'll try to touch on it as much as I can, but.
Just when I finally got my list.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I don't have my list right now. That's kind of the unfortunate issue.
We should have a live camera view so we can log in, and if there's like one person, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna open back.
That's true, you're further out. So that's
Yeah.
yeah.
The Linda cam.
No, the Matt cam.
Yeah. Everybody wants to see me sitting in the back corner.
And hear you say, oh, no.
That will happen. You should have come in this morning. Jenna April and I were having a meeting this morning and I was all over the place with my stuff.
You can get high.
My randomness.
Have you ever seen that man that says if you can't understand me breaking out into song lyrics, you mention something of song lyrics, then we just can't.
We can't be friends. It's not so much that we can't be friends, it's just that I'm going to drive you nuts.
You know, the entire Hamilton.
Not entire, because there are certain songs that I don't like. And so I skipped through them. But then there are some, yes. Quite addicting.
And you're missing the fundamental part of the story.
I've listened to them, but since I don't like them, I can now skip past them. So. Okay, we'll go ahead and get kicked off here a little bit after 12. I guess I think everybody knows who I am, but I'm Matt. I'm the guy you get all the emails from on a pretty regular basis, I hope. So this is our monthly brown bag for June. I sent out the agenda earlier, but we'll kind of go over some things in relation to the UW theme update and the theme update that didn't happen for us. I'll talk. Apparently, it's a popular topic, but I'll talk about Whisk lists and what's happening with us and Whisk lists. A little bit of what's going on with our support process, and then just kind of leave it open for Q&A time, and I think some other stuff that might come up as we converse about this. So we'll start off with the theme update. So we released UW theme 1.5.0, and essentially the biggest thing that was coming out of the update to the theme was the fact that the accordion panels were now going to be accessible, and they were going to have that expand all, collapse all. So what they should look like is this. Same functionality as the past, but they're going to add some accessibility to it, and then adding this function of the expand all, collapse all, which is sort of one of those things that's been a long time coming. So one of the unforeseen, and as is usually how it goes, is one of the unforeseen things that happened was when we launched it, it broke some sites lists. And so we usually check a few sites very specifically. So we'll always check history, we'll always check Wiseman, we'll check registrar and rec sports, and we'll bounce around with a few others, and things looked good. And then suddenly we started getting some emails and some screenshots of this being the unforeseen byproduct of what happened with it. For some of them, a CDN purging the cache for the CDN worked and it fixed everything. For some it didn't, and we could not pinpoint where it wasn't working. Was it a child theme issue? Was it a customization issue? Was it an issue with the CDN? We're not sure. So that's why you got the flurry of emails from me of, hey, it's out there. And then you got the other one, which is, hey, it's not out there anymore. Because we couldn't pinpoint the issue to run like a system-wide fix to get rid of it. So we just decided to roll back to 1.4.1 and continue doing testing on this. So the theme 1.5 is in QA. So if you know what your QA URL is, you could log in there and take a peek at it and tinker around and see if it is causing issues. So I'm looking at the PSERC site. for this demo. But we couldn't pinpoint where it is. So the developers in and marketing folks are taking a look at it to try and find out where the actual issue is so that we can alleviate it, and then finally for WiscWeb at least launch the theme into our service. So the theme is updated. So if you are not a WiscWeb customer but use the theme, you can go out and grab it. But if you're a WiscWeb user, we are not yet going up to it because of the fact that we can't figure this issue out.
I'm just gonna add to that. So we have narrowed it to sites that have customizations,
Okay.
but it's not all sites that have customization. If for some reason you happen to look in QA, you don't have customizations and you see this, definitely let us know, because we haven't seen it on any that don't have it. We have a lead on that where we're just troubleshooting a fix. But the guess is that it maybe affects, like, I would guess less than 30 of our sites.
Yeah. So any questions on the theme update?
I have one question.
You.
When it did work, you
Yes.
could expand all.
Yes.
The thing I like about that is, could you then do a control F and it wouldn't collapse all? Because in a regular accordion, if I look for something, you know, I couldn't find it because it was hidden behind one of those accordion.
I think it opens up everything to be active on the page.
And it doesn't shut them up just because I do control F.
It shouldn't.
Well, that's nice.
That'll be browser
Otherwise, I was
related.
interested in using accordion panels only because it wasn't easily searchable.
No.
Okay, that's good enough.
That site that you were just showing us. with
The
QA,
PSERT?
Yeah. I guess I don't know about this site. Is that something we each have access?
The QA site?
Yeah.
Yes. So usually what happens is through our development process and through our troubleshooting process, we have three environments. We have dev, which is more locked down, which is where we kind of throw things initially. And really it is a very rough area for us to tinker around in and try and find some things. And then we have QA, which is when we are sort of confident that things are working. And when it's going to be a very large change, we'll throw it into QA, and then we'll communicate out with some folks or with either the full list or with some groups to go and take a look at some things, because we know it's going to affect them very specifically in QA. And then once we give a time period for this, we'll move it into production. That's essentially our process.
Okay.
It should be our process. It's not always our process. We need to get better about our process.
I think we're figuring out what constitutes a large change in the
Yeah. Stylistic change or something like that. Yeah. This wasn't intended to be a large change. It was supposed to be a stylistic change.
Yeah.
It ended up being more than what we anticipated. So, okay. Moving on to the next thing. Hi, Phil. So the Whisk list conversation, and then subsequently the WiscWeb email list conversation. So for those of you who are not aware of or who have not been following the tech partners and various Do It News emails that have come out, the current version of Whisk list is going to be decommissioned at the end of this year. And by that I mean there's an article out on it.wisc.edu that talks through what this is, but the current Whisk list system uses, whoops-a-daisies, get back here, this thing right here, the Lyris List Manager function for Whisk list. And so this is an email that went out to tech partners a while ago. I'm not sure when exactly. So it's going to be decommissioned on December 31st of this year. They are looking at other options for a Whisk list option, mainly because of the fact that the two options that are out there right now do not manage things such as custom lists very well. So that's where this article comes into play. And so that is essentially where the conversation that I understand it with Whisk list exists. Currently, it's going away. mainly because it's not the best thing in the world. It's temperamental, does not always deliver in a timely manner. And so DoIT's been looking at replacing it with something that is more efficient and more reliable. But that also is the fact that there are these other two options that exist out there now, which is Google Groups and Office 365 Groups. So for the vast majority of list type functions, Office 365 Groups is going to work okay. So for example, we've moved a number of our internal lists to Office 365 Groups because they just, it keeps it cloud-based and it maintains the list, and we can add or remove. I'm the administrator for I think most of them, so I can add and remove people as I see fit. The issue with Office 365 Groups for the Whisk list or the WiscWeb aspect of it is I can't do a mass import or a mass export. And for me, that's a big deal because of the fact that on a somewhat regular basis, I'm going to now be exporting from the WiscWeb service all of the editors and the administrators and importing them into the mail list so that I have a current, accurate list of everyone who is an editor or an administrator in our service so that I can inundate you all with emails from a time-to-time basis. So Google Groups is supposed to be able to handle that better. I haven't yet tinkered with Google Groups, so this is like one of my summer projects is to move the WiscWeb list into Google Groups so that I can start using that instead of Whisk list in anticipation of this winter's decommissioning. So that's the long-winded way of saying Whisk list is going away in its current iteration. We're going to move to Google Groups because of the fact that I need to be able to import and export users. And like I said, that is my summertime project to figure all that out and get that all squared away for the fall.
Did you say they are looking at some other vendor? Let me rephrase that. What I heard you say was, and they're also looking for another vendor.
Yes.
In addition to O365.
Yes. So because of the fact that Office 365 and Google Groups don't handle like custom list type things, and I can't go too far down that conversation because I don't know about that stuff. But because they don't handle certain functions that groups here on campus do need, they are looking at other options that exist besides just Office 365 and Google Groups. So Whisk list as a service will likely continue, but the current iteration of Whisk list and the current software that we use will not.
So I may not want to jump and transfer all my things to Google Groups.
Potentially not.
I might come up with an even better one.
Potentially not.
I think I'll hold on.
Yeah. So for me, not knowing won't be enough for me. So I want to make sure that I'm ahead of a curve because I interact with, I think I have 1,900 people on my on the list itself. So.
But won't it go away at the end of the year? I mean, don't you have to decide something?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Oh, I'm going to decide something, but I'm willing to wait until November.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
yeah.
Option 3 might be what you want to wait for rather than A and B.
I mean, we transferred one of them already to Google Groups for those kind of reasons. It's just the O365 didn't work. But now that I've heard that they are also in the background considering another one, I'm willing to wait it out.
Yeah. And again, this has all been on Tech Partners, so it's all been general. I don't know, Phil, do you have any other insight into it? I know you.
I just would say, yeah, so if we're talking about using two existing things, we already have the option with the groups inside of Office 365 and then Google Groups as a second one. Knowing what the use cases are that they don't cover, I think Kelly kind of got to some of that where you already had a situation where maybe you tried Office 365 group and some part of that didn't work. Matt, you had another example here of that. There's a few more examples like that, and knowing which things are going to work for you and not. So in other words, if you already can identify today that one or both of those aren't going to work, then you got a better positioning to try to provide useful feedback if something else comes along. So and again, my other just general comment is that the people who work on lists know that the software has been deprecated. Like it's been years since this was the right thing to do, but there hasn't been enough of so literally that spike in traffic causing delays to delivery causing everyone to be like, OMG, why is it so bad? It's like, well, it's so bad because it hasn't been funded enough, and whatever. There's a long history with that stuff. Whatever the new thing is, though, presumably we'll have a new set of problems. So familiarizing yourself with what the two existing options are. That's going to be good, because you still might end up in a compromised situation where you can put 75% of the people you need to contact in one type of list, and you need to augment with another one after that. But yeah, some of that work you can do right now. Figure out whether or not it will or will definitely not work. And we can do that with Google Groups for us as well, right? We can make a group of our team and then have Matt try to do the import, and if it's a nightmare, like we will provide that feedback as well.
And I should say, it's not an all or nothing choice at the moment. Like, you can create a Google group and add people to that Google group. It has its own address. So you could start using that and maintain your WISC list just to test out whether or not the Google group will work for you. If it doesn't, you know, nothing lost. You still have the list over here to continue to use when you want to use it. So.
I have two things.
Okay.
I don't know if you mentioned this, but when you log into WiscList, there is a message at the top now. And
I didn't yet.
Yeah, it has links to more information, like a KB doc, I think, and where to send any like concerns, questions, feedback. There's a list on there. And then also we have identified that Office 365 groups are not something that you can currently use for like a gravity form for it to send to that address. And so if you're gonna need to replace a WISC list that you use on a gravity form, I would consider other options, and we can work with you on that.
Service account would be an option there.
Service account is a great option.
One to many, yeah.
One small thing that we found from Google Groups is I didn't do it, my boss did, but she exported over the WISC list over to Google Groups, and it took the email, but it doesn't take the names automatically. And we really want the names for many reasons, so she had to do a workaround in order to get the names to go.
Yeah.
It wasn't following the directions; those didn't naturally go over with email.
Yeah, and see, I'm going to tinker around with a couple of options because we have a plugin that we use to export users. So I'm going to export everybody into a CSV file and then see if I can upload said CSV file to Google Groups to create my list. So I'm going to try and tinker with a few different ways to break or unbreak said things. So any other questions on the email list transition? Again, this is something that'll happen in the fall. Hopefully for all of you, it will be seamless. You won't see anything other than the email address will change where it's going to. But I usually blind copy that anyway when I send it out to everybody. So you guys just see an email from me, personalized just for you.
Are there other features you liked in Google Groups other than import export? What you saw?
I haven't tinkered with it. I honestly don't even know how the import export works yet because I haven't actually done that process.
But the, sorry.
Go ahead.
The KB doc that is listed when you log into WiscList, I believe.
I think it's this KB doc that's right here.
Can you click on that? I thought it had like a comparison thing. But maybe not. Maybe that's something that they were looking to add, but I thought that there was something somewhere where it actually compared like what each could do.
What are those two boxes at the very bottom?
I'm guessing it is a it's going to be like a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Quiz below.
Yep.
Because we started there too.
Yeah. So there is a KB doc that actually walks you through the process of transitioning from one to the other there.
Can you click on campus?
Do you want to moderate your group? Yes, you all are unruly.
No.
Google group also the option. Do you want members? Do you want to answer a lot of questions? No, go with Office 365. Do you want members of your groups to see other members? Sure. Do you want your group to have a shared inbox and calendar? Sure. Yeah, so.
You could always,
There's a lot in here.
Yeah.
you could always email that list, that email address that's listed.
So like your Office 365 groups, they get added over here on the side. And so you'll see there. So like the tech partners is now a group. So you get to see who all the
Actually,
members
that was
are.
neat also.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the messages that get sent to groups, there's no notification whatsoever, and they don't appear in your inbox.
See, I've created rules
Yeah,
for that stuff, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
do it
your problem for
automatically.
everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't do it automatically. Yep. You have to, I have.
yeah, so I,
Yeah.
occasionally I'll see like, oh, there's a message from
Yeah.
last month in here, you know?
Yep.
You mean it doesn't have your inbox?
It does
Nope.
not.
Well, that's
It goes
crazy.
to a group's
Yep.
folder in your.
Oh.
Down here.
in your-
That's why I expanded my group so that people could see.
Yeah, which
that
most
right
people
there.
probably don't even know.
Nope.
I think there's an option to send to all members though, isn't there?
Hmm?
Isn't there an option to send to all members, for groups? I could be wrong, but I thought there was a checkbox in there. If you go to our CMS admins one.
But all of ours private, very important stuff in there. Hey, get back here. Discard.
Where are
Where the hell am I?
You know, where you put-
All right, there we go. Now groups. There. All right, admins.
And then go up to settings, like that gear icon.
Oh, troubleshooting on the fly. Which group messages to receive in your inbox? Receive all.
I'll do it.
Maybe.
Yeah, I thought there was something like when you create a message, it offers you the option, but I think you have to check it every time maybe or something. I'll play around with it.
Yeah.
I think you also have to compose within the groups.
Within the web. Yeah, the web app.
It's just a whole nother,
Mhm.
either way, it's being worked through, but
Mhm.
one of them that goes to your inbox.
Mhm.
It's just going to your
Yeah,
inbox.
'cause I think out of desktop, you have to know the actual Google group, the Office 365 group email address to send to. So you could add it as a favorite or a contact.
You know what we should do is just keep this list.
Yeah.
We did discover a lot that we have a lot more lists than we realized, so
I,
a lot.
Or, proactive, and not signing one person up for like license renewals and it's, oh shoot, that's another list.
So can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
For the brain trust here.
Yeah.
Is there, do you know if there's a way to find out all the email lists related to your department?
I mean, you can see all the email lists that you have access to, but I don't think, not necessarily if you don't have access, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, your view and, well, at least.
Yeah.
That your view and list is where the things you have and the things you subscribe to, and then I think a bunch of others, like things you might want to subscribe to, but that won't tell you what everybody else in your department sees.
So I'm logged into admin. So here's that message that Jenna was talking about. It's the same one that's on the article, the IT article. But there is a full list directory,
only
Yes.
public ones though,
only public ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that won't tell you about all of your department.
5 times as many.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the check might be to compare what you see as my subscription with maybe 2 or 3 other people in different roles inside your department, just to see, because you should have, there should be a bunch of things that match, but there's probably a bunch that aren't.
Yeah.
Considering how much training we're gonna have to do with users, I think we'll just start printing out, 8.5 by 11 flyers and putting them in people's mailboxes.
Really old school.
I can.
Okay, so we'll transition from that to another transition, which is the support ticket queue that comes into CMS-support. One of the things that we have been working on, and we, as Jenna and I, along with a few folks in help desk area, and then WPS, our group, Web and Platform Service Solutions Greater, is more integration of help desk level 1, taking on the general questions. So in essence, we get on a regular basis in our email, we get, I need to add user X to my site, or I'm interested in page element Y, or something of that nature. And not that Jenna and I don't love talking to all of you, but those are simple things that you guys can do on your own, adding users. And they're things that are documented in the knowledge base, or are things that we would encourage you to come to the open labs for. So one of the things that we're trying to do to ease the load on the support end from our standpoint is to have the help desk handle more of those general questions, the general how-tos, the general I need to do this one thing, and allow them to encourage users to go to the knowledge base, the open labs and things of that nature. And then the more troubleshooting type items that, you know, something's not working right, something's broken, you know, customization requests and things of that nature, that stuff will still get escalated up in our queue. And then, you know, we'll be able to handle things a little, hopefully a little more efficiently from that standpoint. Another aspect of this is, I don't know how much we wanted to generally go into this, but we have had a couple of help desk agents join the WiscWeb team, and they're called embedded service agents essentially. But you'll hopefully start to see them a little more often at open labs, and when you are emailing in, you may start to hear from them. So it's Kyle and Eric are the two individuals who have joined our team, and they're essentially just there again to be first point of contact for the WiscWeb team, to assist with more of the general support queue type stuff there. So
I also want to point out that when we get in requests to our support queue, something that might affect other users, or we know that there's going to be some people that might not know the answer, we do create KB documentation off of that. So that is a great place to look when you encounter any issues. I do realize that, you know, searching is not always fun. Matt, maybe you could bring up the KB.
yes.
So this is linked from our website under support, but this is our hub for knowledge-based documentation. Up at the top in that list, we show like our frequently visited documents. That's based on keyword searches of our hub.
Numero uno.
Yeah. And then below that is like the most recent things that have been added. I would say every week or so, we're usually adding something to this list.
Yeah.
And then in that, on the left in the navigation, browse by KB topic, we have sectioned out different categories of items, and we added this year, like late last year, to go all the way the error messages and troubleshooting. So error messages has a very specific setup. If you click on, it will always give a screenshot of the error so you can confirm that that's what you're seeing. It'll describe the issue, it'll talk about resolution, and then if there's any like tips or troubleshooting, those will be listed at the bottom if you keep scrolling. I don't know if you have any. Yeah. We also try to use the see also option in KB. So if there's something that's related, we'll link to that. Also, you can, at any time, if you're finding that the KB doc that you landed on is not working for you, maybe like there's a broken link in it or something, you can send a comment in, and that will copy whoever created this. So in this case, this was like my KB doc, it'll like email me, I believe, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If that's what you have set for your site.
I think that's,
Depends on
yeah, I think that's what we have.
the site application.
So definitely like let us know if we can make this documentation better for you. We really want this to be a place where you guys can look and not necessarily have to wait on us to respond to an email.
Another aspect, just to kind of play on the whole search functionality, is if you go to our site and you're looking for something and you don't find it and you do a search, we also have the knowledge base plugin in our site. So I guess this is an introduction. I know we've introduced it in the past. I will reintroduce it to folks. We have a plugin that if you have your own knowledge base, you can assign your knowledge base to that plugin so that it also brings up articles from your specific sub KB into your search results list. So we have that also appearing over on the right side along with the general results of our site-wide search.
And then if you switch back to the KB tab, there's only one with this link I want to show if you scroll up a little bit. Oh, sorry,
No.
if you browse by topic at the very bottom is a troubleshooting link. Similar to error messaging, but this is things that people encounter more frequently that are just like oddities in the WiscWeb, WordPress, what have you. For example, saving a page as or post as draft. You know, sometimes people won't realize that you can't just like share that link and there's different troubleshooting tips involved. That's a great place to look if you're encountering an issue that you're just like, I don't know what's going on here, how do I do this?
Yeah. A lot of times the reason why we're pushing this a little bit more now is just the fact that a lot of times we've documented some of these things, and rather than email us and wait for however long our queue might be for trying to troubleshoot things, and especially if you email us directly rather than the support list, your email is going to get pushed way down in a list of things that come into the email list. So it's usually best to look here first, look at the knowledge base first, and then drop us a line if you really can't find the issue. Most of the time, if it's just how do I do something or oddities like that, we've documented them, but a lot of times something will be broken and a KB doc isn't going to tell you why, like a customization has all of a sudden started wigging out on you.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to happen.
Some things are super specific to your site, and we totally understand that. It's just available to, we want to make sure we are including it, so definitely give us feedback if there's anything. And we will continue to add new documents as we see certain things come in.
Is there a functionality in KB that would allow it to display like the most recently created ones?
It does.
It does.
If you go back to our hub, at the bottom of this list, most recently updated documents.
Oh, excellent.
Well, there are
Well,
lots of,
updated.
yeah, there's updated, but there are lots of widgets that I should say lots. There are widgets that you can add to this, and it's up to you. I'm going to yield the floor to one Leah Scheide, who will be able to answer these questions better as a KB admin.
Yes, so right now anyone could go to any KB site, and you can, if Matt, scroll to the top. So we do have some like quick searches. So actually, if you search the KB and you search show all docs one word, that will display all the active. Oh, that's right. Created is not a column that we have here. You could theoretically do this. We haven't developed this yet, but we have APIs for the KB, so you can now develop like custom feeds using the APIs. This just lets you order by updated date. That's what I was thinking of. So yeah, right now there's not a way to order within the KB by created date specifically. If you're using the KB APIs, you can, because created is one of the timestamps that we pass through. It's just not in our current front end here.
In a lot of cases, that most recently updated is new docs. Every now and then, we just had one where someone was like, did you know this link was broken? We're like, no, I did not. So those do show up in that list when there's little tweaks, but a lot of those are new.
You could also reverse sort by hits and find the documents that have the least number of hits, which very likely might just be brand new documents.
I mean, and the KB editor itself is not the most friendly thing.
You put that in more recent documents, yeah.
What's that?
And there's
We're getting
there.
there. The document editor is the next one.
Most recently, oh, yes, that's the whole.
Yeah, this is updated.
Just tell you it's created though.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
So I got a dumb question. My eternal problem and with users are outdated KB pages, various KBs around campus. So can we have faith that if a KB page of any sort can do it is of new formatting, that it is of new content?
Oh, if it's has a new theme in it?
No.
No.
The issue there is the fact that we will get, so I think the default is what, a year? the review?
So yeah, there's kind of two things. So I think you're referring to the kind of this new UW theme style for the KB. So if you see that, it at least indicates that that site is being actively administered. It is certainly the case that sometimes sites have admins that leave and don't redelegate, so then their content kind of slowly expires. So the KB by default, documents do automatically expire after, if it's been 4 years since they've been created, there's kind of a default expiration period, and at that point, if they stop, once they hit that first expiration date, say it was created like 6 years ago, at that point, they're on basically a 6-month review process. So the idea is if no one is doing anything with that document, they get an expiration notification when it's approaching its expiration date. If they don't renew that, the document should just go away and stop being visible in the KB. It is the case, some people don't always have the best upkeep practices and might renew the expiration without updating the document when perhaps that document should actually have been updated. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the challenges is, people leave and then their documents don't get transferred and then they stop updating them. At some point they should, expire and just be gone, but it can sometimes take a while for that to happen depending on how recently the document was created.
Okay, WiscWeb is notable.
And Jenna is exceptional when it comes to the knowledge-based documents and finding things and updating things and adding all those little gotchas in there. But I mean, essentially, we try to live by this thing because we can't answer every question that comes in.
We use it too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, what was that weird thing that we saw?
Like we use a number of different ways for keeping track of all the things because we use our own wiki, we use our own internal wiki, we use the knowledge base, and then just in general we tap into the developers' brains as much as possible when something's broken. So
I always recommend submitting feedback on KB documents.
Yeah.
You seem, again, depending on who that goes to, there are sometimes cases where that person no longer even works for UW. So
yeah,
not every group is as good at following up on feedback as other ones are, but it is at least a way you can try to let people know it's very out of date.
For us, Ryan Hansen was the owner of all of the WiscWeb knowledge-based documents. When he left, he transferred ownership of all of them to me. So all of the old documents that prior to Jenna starting to go into her own creation frenzy, they all were owned by me. So I would get all of the updates that would come through. So like all of the old open text KB docs that were like, this needs to be reviewed. No, it doesn't. Yeah, not so much delete, but just decommission. So this is Leah. She's on the KB team, and she is exceptionally smart when it comes to the knowledge base. Okay, that's about it. I had one question come in from I have many other questions in from the chat here, but one of the questions came in, comes back around to the accordion panel issue. What if there is a customized site, but it's on a page that isn't customized? Will the accordion panel still break? Yes. It's regardless of whether or not the page itself has the issue. What the issue is, the fact that there is a theme applied there is a style applied to your site that is being referenced from the child theme.
And I think specifically, like when we do customizations, main.css gets updated, even if it was like a super minor thing. And that's what we sort of identified as the common
I guess that's that. Any general Q&As? For the first time in a long time, we have a full house in the room. So I guess any general questions that you guys might have in regards to everything, Mike?
For the new layout for the accordion panels, are you going to be able to put anchors in them so if you have a URL that goes directly?
Oh, to expand automatically? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if that was a part of it. Yeah. That's something. Yeah. I'll have to test it. Drop me an email and I'll test it in our QA because I know I haven't yet, but I hadn't thought about it mainly because of the fact that getting it accessible was the first big win of this. But I know that's another request that has come in quite a bit, is being able to deep link into the tabs themselves or the panels themselves.
And this was an update that University Marketing worked on, so we're just not as familiar with all, like, the inner workings of the changes.
Yeah, and this is one that's been a long time coming, but I'll have to drop me an email because I'll have to test that out. Yeah, that's a great question because I hadn't even thought about that. I was just more excited about the two things, which is accessibility and the expand collapse opportunities. I would wonder if there's no associated
If you
link
like
with it.
right click and inspect introduction material. And then highlight that ID.
Oh boy, it's gonna get
Well, I don't know if that's it.
it's gonna get weird.
See where it says ID equals.
ID equals
Highlight
UW.
that
Yep.
whole ID, copy it. And now add hashtag and see if that. You're gonna have to try, like, do it in an incognito window maybe.
Okay, let me grab this
I have
then.
no idea if this is the way to test it. It definitely doesn't break it down to it.
So it's not a name value. Yeah, we'll have to test. This is one of those things where I think it's, if not, then theme 2.0, this is one of those feedbacks that we have to give for that. Other questions, comments, concerns, funny quips?
I'm not a WiscWeb user, but from physics, and we take the layouts and I'm from a subgroup, so I'm just reporting back up the chain. But if we don't, they've been holding off on rolling out new physics layouts because they start, something gets interrupted, and then there's a letter from you guys about how the latest update got broken.
Yeah.
But if we don't,
Go ahead. For general purpose formatting, can we figure that 1.5 is a big upgrade? It's time to. Yeah, I would say just given the standpoint of if you haven't done it for a while, the other ones have had a few minor quality of life updates that have gone in, and then the accordion panels being accessible are a big quality of life functionality that I think is worth getting that for. Test it first, because again, but yeah, I would say it's worth getting updated to 1.5. One of the things that on our group, and you'll start to see this a little bit more, and hopefully we are starting to do this a little bit more, is the conversation that we've had with marketing is that we want to do more regular, even if they're small, regular updates to the theme itself, to just kind of keep it consistent with just in general, making sure that we're addressing all the little things that are starting to come in through the theme that are quality of life improvements, and in essence, moving towards theme 2.0. Now, again, we're supposed to be working on theme 2.0 right now, but it's everything else catches on fire, and the developers are all being pulled in many different ways here on campus. So the hope is that we will start looking at a more improved theme soon-ish, trademark. But I would say yes, it is worth the update.
Thanks.
Do you know what version of the theme you're actually on right now?
1.4 or something.
1.4 something?
1.4.1 would be the most recent.
Then the guess would be the primary, gigantic thing that got changed is that the accordions are different. If you didn't do anything, and this is where what we ran into, what our break was, that some of the sites did some of the stuff related to customizing the accordions and how they appeared, and then that did not work as expected. Because if you almost consider the accordions a bit of a base level rewrite, because in order to make them accessible, you have to approach it completely differently. So it's not like just adding a few styles to something that exists. It's a different way to approach it. And so what happened when we had a older version of the CSS, from even version 1.3 or, earlier, that some, color tweaks or whatever style tweaks had been done to the accordion just to fit it into the consistency of the site. That didn't mesh at all with what the new style changes were that was compared to the rest of it. And we probably talked about some of the behaviors we saw accordions go to do things like instead of being that little plus with the content coming out one at a time, you got a gigantic 3-inch plus sign and there's no accordion, there's just all the content dumped on the page. And we're like, hey, that's not right. But turns out it wasn't too many sites that were actually impacted by that. But more than 0 was like, oh, that's not good.
So another question from the chat was requesting design elements or plugins to be considered. I guess I'll reiterate that we are not good about the whole plugin request process and the approval process and all that. Mainly from a standpoint of it's really just Jenna and I on the troubleshooting side of things for the most part when you guys are having requests come in and things like that. So when we see a plugin request come in, we'll take a look at it, and essentially our first evaluation is how useful is this going to be to our service as a whole? Because then it's something that we will look at and go, okay, let's throw this in, let's start to tinker around with it. But our process, it's not efficient. We just don't have a very efficient process for plugin reviews, mainly because we don't have a QA person dedicated to this kind of stuff. But if you are looking at feature requests or plugin requests, we do have it underneath the help. There are 2 forms. And then I don't know if there's a spreadsheet for the feature request one. No, but we do have a spreadsheet underneath the plugin requests for ones that have come in and at what state they were in.
And I think that needs to be updated.
Yeah, it hasn't been updated for a while now because it wasn't being maintained by anyone other than Kathy and myself.
Yeah.
So.
And we're probably going to be.
Yeah.
Changing the way that's.
Yeah. So that's the answer to number 1, Chrislyn. But then to your second question, I think we are aware of the issue where groups of links, the menus on the sides, if they have long names, it wraps and makes it look very weird. I don't really know if we have a way to affect that in general, other than to, no, she didn't, but it would be the whole health site there. So even then it might be some level of customization that has happened to there. So yeah, you have some, Kelly?
So on our faculty page. For us, it's trying to get people to agree to do a shorter title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I would start with.
Try Magnuson to start with.
I would say the micro copy.
You wouldn't have anything.
Actual website.
Oh, his actual website. Got
Either that or maybe Carpenter. Yeah.
it. So like,
Seminar, testimony, briefings, meetings.
yeah. So.
That doesn't look too bad.
I don't have a problem with that.
There's somewhere the arrows.
So and actually, yeah, I think the issue that Chrislyn is bringing up is that issue right there, where if it gets so long that it wraps it entirely. I think I talked with Jonathan about this a long time ago when this was first, and this is nothing other than the function of they're too long, and I guess that would be my best troubleshooting there would be somehow reduce. But I know that's me saying it's easier than actually doing.
We do have 2 tickets right now to augment some things with the Google Links menu, so we can
Yeah.
just add it to that ticket as a note, like, also this is a request.
Either make it shorter by 1 letter,
Well,
or make it longer by
what it
a
would
whole
do
word.
is it would associate the last word with the arrow some way such that
Yeah.
Like
it would put the last word into.
Oh,
a line
okay.
instead of-
Just the arrow.
Yeah.
Don't take that one character, take what it's with down with it. Yeah.
I don't think it was this weird. I remember you guys mentioned there was another one that came up too where it was like the description was like 2 letters or 1 letter or something like that. They call it for groups of formatting.
So what happens
Somehow we
right
expected
now,
no
yeah.
words to be 1 letter, so.
So there was an update made to allow for more like nested linking
Yep.
in the Google Links menu. And what that did was create a separate issue where if you have a shorter title, so let's say you have a link that just says year, and then the one below it is also like a 4-letter, 5-letter word, it will try to put them on the same line. So we're aware of that, and we're gonna do a hotfix for that.
Yeah.
And then if you happen to have group of links in a 1-column layout and have a bunch of nested links under a certain section, it does put it in a 2-column layout for that. And you'll just have like a big block of empty space. So it might be something where we just can't do like nested links the same way in a 1 column, it'll be like specific styles for that.
All right, any other questions?
There was a thing that came up, and this might, I can't remember if it was related to the group of links or whatever, but I was in an open lab with Sandy.
Yeah.
And she had noticed, we were looking at accessibility links, and she had noticed that sometimes the heading level didn't make sense.
Yeah, I think she reported that to us as well. Yeah, because if you had an H2 or something like that, or if you didn't have any H2s on your page and it was adopting the H3 as the title over here, because you can add titles to your group of links sections, it was not an accessible way of adding the titling. And I think, I know she's talked to us about it. I'm not sure where we've gone with the developers on.
Part of it is that it sometimes is correct and
Yeah,
sometimes it isn't.
yeah.
So I think our developers are gonna have to figure out like, how can we make that.
Have it be consistent.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, everybody be jealous of Jenna because she's going to Europe for 2 weeks. And a tour of where? Norway. Yeah.
They picked the right time here.
I hope so. I just
Here,
read that
winter's
it
out.
can be terribly cold and rainy right now, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yep.
well, we're doing a lot of hiking, so the higher you get up, the more risk for torrential
Sure.
snow.
So she thought she was leaving Wisconsin weather.
Yeah. I literally just bought a sweater last night because I got paranoid. I was like, I need more warm clothes.
Okay, so we'll end it there. As always, please feel free to come to an open lab, or I know I just talked the whole thing about the support queue and all that jazz, but don't hesitate to get in touch with us just because. We still want to hear from you. We still want that process to be there. So don't be discouraged by the fact that we're kind of changing up the process. It's more of just trying to keep Jenna and I's workflow a little smoother in regards to other troubleshooting issues that we have that we're working on. So please feel free to touch base with us. We do have an open lab in 7 minutes, which we're going to have to. And we also have a lot of cookies. This one helped the people streaming, so we have lots of cookies and stuff like that. So,
Otherwise they can.
yep. All right, and break.
Are you coming to the lab?
I will be there. Yep.
This needs to be escalated.